All right. So welcome to Living a Healthy Lifestyle Show with your favorite holistic health coach, Carrie Kay. My guest today is Dr. Staci, and her credentials include a bachelor's and master's degree in education, a PhD in integrative medicine and functional medicine, the author of the book Beyond Keto, a certified leadership coach, and now working with the field of holistic health and wellness as a senior presidential director for the U.S. advisory member of LifeWave. So thank you, Dr. Staci, for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you, Carrie. It's great to be here. It's been a while since I've been on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. So would you share a little bit about your credentials and your career in holistic?
Absolutely, of course. So my holistic background starts from a child. I grew up in the country in Midwest, and so we had gardens, and my dad was a hunter, so we lived off the land per se. My great grandmother was the teacher of the family, and used oils and herbs and things like that. So I just grew up knowing that kind of world, and I think probably a lot of us did that are in our 40s, 50s, obviously 60s and 70s, unlike today. But as I grew older and got out of the house, at 18, I really got into different types of natural medicine myself personally. Didn't prefer to go to the doctor, wasn't sick anyways, but just always made sure that I was exercising and staying healthy and eating good foods. And when I chose to, pursue a career that was in teaching, teaching kids, so education, and I love teaching and training, but always held my passion for health and wellness and nutrition. And by the time I had children, things had shifted in my world, and I no longer wanted to be a school teacher. I wanted to have freedom and flexibility and be home with my kids. So I pursued a career in holistic health and wellness, initially as a holistic health practitioner a little over 20 years ago, and loved it, loved teaching and training, traveling, having freedom and flexibility in my schedule and what I was doing. But when my daughter was 4, she was misdiagnosed with many kinds of cancers and complications, and we ended up spending a year in the hospital. One thing bad happened after the next. And so during that year, I got a firsthand experience of the medical world and what could work at times that were life-saving. And then also, of course, what was really, really wrong with what was happening. So after that year in the hospital, we came out and really took a deep dive into different types of holistic therapies and therapists, and traveling, doing intensive programs and, workshops with her to help detox her body from all the medicines and see, what we had left of a functioning child. She was a normal 4-year-old when this happened, and she came out of the hospital on a in a wheelchair on 25 oral and IV meds and tubes and lines and all that stuff. So that holistic journey, that first year and a half, was life-changing for me. I had that foundation and background, and I'm sure, like many people, you think you're doing the best you can, and then something happens and you're in a tailspin. And so after that year and a half, I decided to really pursue that deeper with her, of course, and the things we're doing to help her heal and recover from that, but also to be able to teach and train and educate other moms to prevent that situation from happening to them as well. Knowing what you know after the fact is just like hindsight, right? I wish I would have known. I wish somebody would have told me. So that's been my mission and passion since 2005, almost 20 years now, to really educate people on their health and wellness, and that nutrition is the core. So through that journey with my daughter, learned so many things. I met so many amazing doctors and practitioners around the world that I decided to get my first PhD in integrative medicine. And honestly, it was 50 classes. It was, an intensive program, but I had already lived it. So it really was not anything more than just taking a lot of tests and, passing courses with A's and whatnot. My second PhD, I didn't really plan on getting it all. I was perfectly fine with what I had. And it just kind of fell in my lap. The opportunity presented myself with a business partner of mine to just do it together. And not that we were working together, but to do it at the same time. And so that PhD was in functional medicine. So again, looking at different types of holistic therapies and modalities, but all getting to the root of the problem. So that has been my main focus in nutrition, detoxification, and different tools in my toolbox, I call them. And I know we're going to get into one of those tools here in a little bit that has become my intense passion over the last 3 years. So that's kind of my background and where I came from.
So can you explain the term of integrative medicine?
Absolutely. So people usually think medicine, as in go to the doctor, get a prescription, and that's a medicine. When we look at integrative medicine, we look at things like hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, acupuncture, homeopathic remedies, herbs, essential oils, different types of tinctures, different types of ways to use nutrition to help bring the body into balance. So, looking at a broad scope of treatments and therapies in the holistic alternative world and integrating them to provide a solution for the client, whether it's Eastern medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, or whether we're looking at, ancient, Indian, shaman. It's all different types of things to be able to bring that body into balance. So not looking at the body from these are my symptoms, but going to the inside and saying, what's at the core of this problem? Is it physical, mental, emotional, spiritual? Yep, all the above. So how can we address that from the being as the internal being that we all are, and not just looking at the outward physical symptoms that people are experiencing? Of course, we've got to address the physical body, but that PhD in integrative medicine is actually quantum integrative medicine. And so it looks at the quantum level and says what's happening inside of the body, what's happening in the spirit world, in the etheric world. How can we help address this person that's here right now, emotionally and mentally as well? Because we can see, even the CDC states that 90+% of diseases and problems with people have an emotional root. So what is that emotional root? So integrative medicine really looks at that and looks at the whole picture instead of starting from the outside and going in. It's starting from the inside and coming out.
Oh, wow. And I understand that you are involved in a beautiful technology that I would like to hear a little bit about. It's the power of the patch. We have our patches on. So can you explain a little bit about where you were before the patches came into your life?
Absolutely.
And where you are now?
Yeah. So when we were going through all the different types of therapies and modalities for my daughter, one of the major things that was instrumental in her recovery was stem cell treatments. We did, I back up before I had my daughter and my son, I banked both of my kids' cord blood. I had already started researching 22 years ago the power of stem cells to heal the body. And so whenever we were going through her recovery journey, using things like hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy to be able to activate her own stem cells from the bone marrow to help her body recover, going out of the country, in the country to receive stem cells, donor cells, and also her own stem cells using different German laser directed technologies. So that was a huge part of her recovery and healing. And it was extremely time consuming, extremely expensive. But God always provided all the years, everything was taken care of. So we were so grateful and blessed for that we had the money to afford that, because I watched so many people that could definitely have benefited from those types of treatments not be able to afford it, or didn't have the time to be able to go spend. We spent 4 months in states away from us doing hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy. We were traveling out of the country and things like that. So when I found this technology, or it found me most recently 3 years ago, LifeWave, I wasn't looking for a business or anything specifically. My main focus is looking for alignment in what serves my highest good and what is going to benefit my child. That is always my focus. I always say open the doors. Like I tell God, lead me, guide me, show me, put me in front of it in such a way that I have no way to dispute this is the divine. And so when LifeWave entered my life, which makes me emotional 3 years ago. It was nothing shy of that. I mean, it was so divine. I wasn't looking. I was asked to do some meditation breath work for a person that opened a new wellness center here in Sarasota. And I didn't know this person, but for some reason, my first response was like, no, I'm not going to go be recorded and videoed doing meditation for this guy's wellness center. That's not something I do, even though I had taught meditation and I did retreats and all that stuff. So it was fine in a group setting. But something inside of me said, say yes instantly. And I said yes instantly. And I went to that wellness center and I had recorded everything and he was happy with it. And he was showing me around his center. It was brand new, getting ready to open. And on the way out the door, he mentions these patches that activate your body's own ability to repair and recover and regenerate. And I said, well, just how much is it? I'll take it immediately. Like, just give me the price and it's yours, right? Name it. I know what this technology can do if it's activating these cells. And he, wanted to explain it. I said, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you that you're getting these kind of results, but I need it for my child immediately. And I left that day, went home, put a patch on her, and I was like, this is it. This is going to help her get out of this wheelchair. Even though she'd been healthy all those years, she'd been in a wheelchair still and required full care and was nonverbal. And the next day, a good friend of mine, April Vaughn, very good friend, 20 years we've been friends, holistic practitioner. She reached out to me. She goes, Staci, I found something that's going to help your daughter. I said, great, send me the link. I'll order it. I don't care, whatever it is. If you say it's good, I'll buy it. And she said, no, we got to get on the phone. We jump on the phone. And within a few minutes, I said, send me the link. I think I just bought this yesterday. She sent me the link and I said, I just bought this from a random stranger. And she, was just raving about how it had helped her with all of her joint pain. She was supposed to be in the hospital because her, C-reactive proteins were through the roof and things like that. And I said, I'm in 100%. And she said, you've got to talk to these ladies. They can tell you about all the different patches and all that would benefit yourself and Taylor, and watch this quick video. So I watched the video and I'm like, done, talk to the lady, I'm in, great, order the big package, right? It's going to be for me and my husband, my son, my daughter. Like, we are so fired up because we were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on stem cell therapy for Taylor, but couldn't afford it or justify it, that expense, at $25,000 an injection for our own selves for vanity purposes or for longevity purposes. And so when, we could for her, we would make it happen for her, but not for us because she needed it for recovery. And, this is 2021. So we are years. Her brain bleed happened in 2007. So we're years later. Okay. And so we're hopeful this is going to help her. So she says, well, the inventor of this technology, David Schmidt, he's actually going to be literally 15 minutes from your house. And Carrie, you and I met that day.
I know, I remember.
Yeah. And he's going to be doing an event. You've got to go. And I said, I'm in, right? I had a girls' weekend plan, canceled it. And I said, I'm in 100%. And I called a good friend of mine, Laura, that had cured herself 6 years ago of stage 3 breast cancer and doing IV vitamin therapy, juicing, detox, and nutrition, whatnot. So I said, Laura, you got to go. Like what I just watched on this one video, you have to come with me. This man, I cannot wait to hear what he has to say. I don't know what kind of company it is. I don't know what's involved. I just know I want this on everyone in my family. And I feel like it would help her too. And she knew everything. We've been friends for 15 years. So she knew everything with Taylor. And we get there and we're sitting there and we're just, we're blown away by David, and everything he shared in that 2 hours was just amazingly mind-blowing. And it honestly was the next segment, that hour segment where people came up and shared their personal experiences and testimonials, physical things they've been dealing with, mental, emotional things they've been dealing with. And I don't know about you, but age-wise, the average age range in that room was 65 to 85 years old. So I felt like I was the youngest person. I may have been the youngest person in that room at that time. I don't know. But it was definitely a demographics of people that their lives were radically changed. And I looked at Laura and she said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to tell everyone I know about this. Everyone. And she said, are you going to build a business? And I said, no. I'm just going to go tell everyone about this. Everyone has to know. And she said, well, then if you're telling people, I'm telling people. I said, okay, we're going to go tell people, but we're not doing anything with the business. We're not going to build a business. We're not going to do, any of that kind of stuff. And long story short, the very last few minutes of the program, there were two ladies that came up and they shared a little success tip, a little business tip on how they were helping other people help other people, right? They were growing a business. And I listened to them, their little baby testimonial, success tip. And I went, whoa, these ladies are doing something. Wait a minute, I need to take a look at this. And so I got back in the car, I called April and I said, April, I need to know, more about this company. What kind of company is this? Who is this David Schmidt man? Like, what's the deal with all of this? And she said, I don't know. Let's talk to those two ladies about the patches. So I called those ladies and they said, I don't know, but you need to talk to Marcy Preble. So I called Marcy Preble and I said, we got to get on a Zoom or something. I need to understand what's going on here because I believe in this technology. I believe in this man. I believe in this mission and this purpose to help other people's lives. And I believe in spreading this information. But I also need to be educated on how all of this works before I decide to, go further with that. So that's how I got introduced to it 3 years ago. And things have radically changed since then.
So with the patches, it's a patent technology. Can you explain what is in the patch and how it works with people when you put it on the skin?
Absolutely. So it's a non-transdermal patch, which means there's nothing transferring into the body. It's not like a nicotine or birth control or pain patch or hormone patch. It does not have a chemical, a medicine, a nutrient, an herb, or even like supplement or anything in it. Nothing enters the body. What David has invented is actually a lattice structure. It's a solution, a proprietary solution, of course. That's why we have a 20-year patent on the patch. But it's a proprietary solution of organic amino acids, oxygen, sugars, and water. Not things from your pantry, okay? So don't think, oh my God, sugar's entering my body, and look at your food labels if you're worried about sugar entering your body. But these molecules that form together in a very specific way, they make a lattice, and that lattice structure is reflective. So when you put the patch on your body's heat that you emit, or light, and we're here in Florida, so it's heating up today. We're about 85 degrees. So, it doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. We all are 98.6-ish degrees. So that heat or light that we're emitting is what works with this patch. So when you put the patch on, your body's light hits it, reflects back off that lattice, a very specific wavelength of light. It's like a mirror, right? Light hits a mirror and it reflects off that mirror onto the ground or onto, something in front of you. And so this lattice that's reflective, when we put it on, our light hits it. We don't see it. We don't feel it, but it happens immediately. And we know that from clinical studies. So you have to prove, in order to get a patent, you have to prove that what you're saying is happening. And so David had spent 10 years in the lab figuring out which wavelength of light does what this patch does. But he actually has done a lot of clinical studies, total over 90 studies, independent doctors and labs around the globe. Okay. But he has double-blind placebo-controlled studies that are peer-reviewed that show that when we put this patch on, it actually reflects a very specific wavelength that elevates a peptide in our body. And what happens from there is that peptide is responsible for causing our body to activate and mobilize these cells that are responsible for repair and regeneration. And that happens instantaneously. So that patent says that we activate that peptide, and in turn, we activate those cells that are responsible for repair and regeneration. And that is what this patch does and how it works.
Well, I know you interviewed Dr. Harmon just recently, and he wrote the book called Reverse Aging with HT copper peptides. Can you explain about that, how it works in the body?
Yeah, absolutely. So the peptide that's activated is GHKCU, copper peptide. We have thousands of peptides in our body. They all do different things, and unfortunately, they decline in their functionality as we age. And GHK is one of those. We call GHK the fountain of youth. It's most commonly known for skincare. Estheticians have used it for years in their serums and their lotions and creams to help with lines and wrinkles. Okay, so it's a skin peptide that people are familiar with. You can also inject it if you don't mind doing something invasive and have the money to do that. But David's figured out through the patch how to activate that very specific peptide in our body with this wavelength of light. So one of the things that that peptide does is it does reset a third of our genes back to their young, youthful, perfect, healthy state. We know this from obviously years of studies and research. The peptide was discovered over 50 years ago from Dr. Lauren Picard. So he has 5 decades of clinical studies with the benefits of GHK. So resetting the genes is what's responsible for activating those cells that go and repair and regenerate whatever's needed in the body. But GHK does a whole lot more than that. It is responsible for improving cardiovascular health, neurological health. We can see in metabolic conditions and issues, GHK plays a huge role in putting the body back into balance. It's really powerful in helping to reduce pain, to improve quality of sleep, to help with wound healing. So it is so powerful as a peptide in your body. And what happens when you put the patch on, you activate that peptide, there's a biochemical reaction in the body and it starts bringing the body into balance. And that happens over time. This is not a quick fix. This is not a one and done. I don't put the patch on one time and then poof, 20 years of chronic issues is gone. We have to be patient with the process. It takes time to wake up those cells that are dormant, that are responsible for repair and regeneration. And that happens really based on your age. So we recommend 1 month for every decade you are old as your starting point. And, here you and I are 3-4+ years later, still patching, because what we see in our studies and what we see in ourselves, of course, now, we see the repair and regeneration. We see systems coming back into balance. We see organ function coming back into balance. And then we see actual reversal. And that's why Dr. Harmon's book is called How to Reverse Aging with GHK, is because we actually see age reversal and functionality in our cells, in our tissues, in our organs. And even Dr. Harmon himself, with some issues he had with his cardiovascular system, saw not only repair and regeneration, but reversal in the functionality. So it's a very, very powerful, but yet simple, easy, effective, accessible, and affordable tool in my toolbox.
Awesome. So how long has the company been in business? And tell us a little bit about David Schmidt. I absolutely love him. I want to interview him someday.
Yeah, he's wonderful. So the company has actually been in business 20 years. This is our 20-year anniversary this year. David started, about 22 years ago working with the Navy SEALs. And he's been an inventor his whole life. He's a scientist and a researcher. And he was working on a mini submission with the SEALs, creating things for oxygenation and survival equipment. And they asked if he could help with the problem the SEALs were having on amphetamines and uppers, caffeine, things like that. And he invented what is called Energy Enhancer, which is a 2-patch system that triggers beta oxidation in the body. It just means turns body fat into fuel. So instead of the SEALs using all these uppers, they started using energy enhancer patches and, things were going amazing. Well, 9/11 happened here in our country, in the US. And of course, the US Department of Defense pulled out of that mini submission and protected the country and, bear more arms. So David thought this was really good idea. I need to prove this, though I'm a scientist. I need to see facts and data. So he went to his friend Richard Quick, who was at Stanford University, 6-time USA Olympic swim coach, and said, hey, can we do some clinical studies with your female athlete Olympians and see if what I think is happening is really happening? And I need proof. I need data. I need double-blind placebo controlled studies to show the effectiveness. And so 2 years go by. And sure enough, everything's true. So he decided to start LifeWave 20 years ago because of the effectiveness of that and the ideas that he had, not only from that, but also to invent a patch called IceWave, which eliminates pain. A patch called Silent Nights, which helps with sleep. So he was thinking about problems that people have. They have low energy, they have pain, they don't sleep well. Then he started thinking about our Y-Age series, with our people have inflammation. So the Eon patch reduces inflammation, brings the nervous system into balance. Glutathione elevates that glutathione. Carnosine elevates that carnosine. SP6 brings the endocrine system into balance. And so it just continued to snowball from there, where he invented different patches along the way, all trying to figure out how to activate GHK to activate the body's ability to repair and regenerate. And that's what, of course, has come to be the claim to fame the last 5 years since the release of the X39, and most recently 2 years ago, the X49, are these two patches that really work systemically throughout the body to bring everything into balance. So the other patches, what we call supportive patches, are fantastic. They're amazing. I use them daily, of course, for different things, but that X39 is really gonna get to the root and really help to reverse that functionality. So it's a powerful, powerful patch.
Wow, and you have been able to be the advisory on the board for LifeWave. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. That's very exciting, helping people.
Well, I did sign an NDA, so I can't share any information with you about that. I am on the advisory board with LifeWave with 5 other people in the United States. We have a US advisory board, and we also have one in Canada and in Europe and in Asia as well too, all separate for the regions. But we meet every other week, and we discuss what's going on at corporate, our needs in the field, what we're seeing, kind of being the voice for the field here in the US and saying, here's our concerns, or here's what's working, here's what we need to work on, and be able to take that information then back to our field and be able to have that open conversation and communication and relationship with corporate.
Awesome. And then there is a video that we shout out to people to tell people if they want to go on and watch it. And do you want to go ahead and shout that out? The StartX.
Oh yeah, the startx39now.com. So that link is, it doesn't hook to anyone. It's what we call our exposing site. And so that site is going to have short little videos and even longer videos if you choose. The basic information about LifeWave, the patch, what it is, how it works, has a lot of PDFs and all of the clinical studies as well too. So if you're into reading and researching and science, you'll find all your information there. If you just want to browse through a couple quick videos, or maybe you want to listen to some doctors talk about the patches and how they use them in their practice, all of that information's on there. But of course, Carrie, they're going to get back with you if they have questions about the patches or if they're interested in purchasing.
Yeah, you can get back with me at 515-822-4877, or you can also go on Living a Healthy Lifestyle Show and set up a 15-minute Zoom with me. So Dr. Staci, we just have a few minutes left. And so is there anything that you would like to talk about for about just a few more minutes before we end the show?
Yeah, I think I would love to share with you all about this patch that patience is the key. Sometimes people feel things right away within the first day or two, or even the first week. And a lot of times they don't. I didn't notice anything for 3 weeks. And so if I would have been like, oh my God, this is not working in 2 days or 3 days, we have over 30,000 people in our organization that are benefiting from this technology. And that doesn't even include their families, right? So probably double or triple that are being impacted because I waited and I was patient. And even at the 3-week mark, it wasn't anything significant. It was like improvement in my workout, So it wasn't like a life-altering experience. So I just ask you, if you're going to patch, be patient. Be okay with the process. It may not be perfect. You may have days that you're like, I don't feel like anything's working. And then, weeks go by and you're like, whoa, something just shifted. Or you may not even notice anything at all. And people come up to you, and I'm sure this happens to you too, Carrie, where they're like, what are you doing? What's changed about you? You look different. Something is happening. And so we know the longer we patch, we may forget about the pain that we were experiencing that was gone, or we may not realize we're sleeping better, or we may not realize we have more range of motion or more flexibility, mobility, or that our brains are functioning sharper, but other people start to notice that. And then you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I had a lady message me last night, and her husband was in a horrible motorcycle accident about 6 years ago. I mean, like flatlined, right? Bad, 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 coma forever. And, he started patching 2 years ago. He's had great success off the walker, off the cane, just able to hike, like pain free. He was an attorney. Mental faculties have come back where they were just, he was going downhill fast. Nothing was helping, all the medicines, all the stuff, nothing. And she texted me last night and she goes, Staci, he got on the roof. He climbed a ladder 16 feet up with our son and was on the roof working and never missed a beat. She said, we never thought he would be able to do this again. Climb a ladder and be able to be up on a roof and be stable enough to not have to. I mean, I'm talking about the man was in a full body, everything broken motorcycle crash, right? Not like body to pavement to car. And so it's just things like that you're like, just be patient. Like 2 years is going to go by no matter what. You're either going to get older or you're going to get younger. You're either going to get healthier or you're going to get sicker. So be patient with the process and be patient with that journey because it's worth the wait. No matter how long it takes, it's worth the wait.
For as little as a cup of coffee a day, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know when I got hit by the school bus, it's changed my life. So I can definitely attest to the motorcycle accident that guy had. It's totally changed everything for me. So, but I also, like you, had to wait a little longer for the results, because isn't it true that it can land on any organ and recreate the organ?
Yeah, so these cells that are responsible for repair and regeneration, you can't direct where they go. You can't say, oh, my knee's this or my shoulder's that, or I need help with my memory. Like you can't pick where they go. Your body knows how to heal itself. We know that, right? And so this activates the body's ability to do that, like when you were a child. And so your cells are going to go wherever they want to go to repair whatever is most damaged. You may say, oh, it's my knee, and your body is going, I'm sorry, your liver's shot. Like we're gonna have to go here first. This is gonna take me a minute to clean this up before I go to your cardiovascular system and work on that problem.
I can attest to that because I have a brand new liver and kidney and I'm not saying this healed, treat, or cured anything. I'm just saying that it did recreate those things that were going on in my body. So, well, I want to thank you for joining the show, Living a Healthy Lifestyle, today. And Dr. Staci, you'll have to come on again and let us know how things are going in the future.
Absolutely.
It's been an amazing journey, just knowing you and learning from you and growing in this time together, and just we appreciate you being on the show today. So all right, well, thank you so much, and you guys get on the train and get on this patch. So get in touch with me at 515-822-4877, or go on my website, livinghealthylifestyleshow.com, and you can also be on the show. All you have to do is give me a holler and we will set up a time together. So, but thank you so much, Dr. Staci, for being on today.
You were very, very welcome. Great seeing you again.
Yes, you too. And we will see you real soon. God bless.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.